We're looking at the Consew Premier model P1206RB. It's a walking foot machine or triple feed, and we're going to show you exactly what the walking foot is. It consists of, we're going to lift the pressure foot up here, and we're going to take a look at the feed dog. So as we turn the hand wheel, we focus on the feed dog. The feed dog teeth come up above the needle plate. As we turn the hand wheel, as you can see, the feed dog drops and it comes up in the very first front here, and we're going to go back towards the back. This is called drop feed. Now we're going to focus on the needle. If you notice, the needle will come down, the feed dog will come up, and now the needle will travel with the feed dog as it's going back. So we get that motion there. Now we have top and bottom feed. So this is called needle feed. So now we're going to set the pressure foot down. We're going to focus on the center foot. The center foot actually is going to lift the rear foot. It's going to go down to the feed dog with the needle, and it's going to marry up with the feed dog down here. Now it's going to travel, the center foot's going to travel with the feed dog and the needle. This constitutes three different feeds. You get an upper feed or alternating pressure feed with the center foot feed, the needle feeds, and then you have the feed dog that feeds. So now that you have your new Consew Premier P1206RB, let's start with threading it. Just tilt the head back a little bit here so you can see exactly how I'm going to get this bobbin case out. I'm going to put my fingernail here and grab a hold of the bobbin case and just pull it straight out, and I got a hold of my bobbin case. Now typically I'm going to be reaching this bobbin case from underneath here. So as I set the head down, I'm going to do this blindfolded, but if you kind of get a feel for this with your eyes, and then when you get it down you can find this with your fingernail. It's just a latch, if you can see that latch there. So we'll grab the latch, get it underneath our thumb here, and then we're going to pull it straight on out like this. So once we have this out, there's a simple adjustment to this. Let's pull this out. One way to put the bobbin in, there's a little groove right here, and what we're going to do with that groove is we're going to come into that groove cross grain, so that as we put our bobbin in, we're going to come cross grain into that. Now make sure that you pull it all the way back and behind here so that it clicks past this and is in between this little tension spring. Now to put tension on your bobbin, we're going to do that with this larger of the two screws. This one puts the pressure on your bobbin thread, and this removes the whole tension assembly here. So what we want to do is we want to kind of get a medium, or maybe a little bit medium heavy pull. And we can do this sometimes with just our fingernail, or we can basically get it with a screwdriver. Well, we're going to use a screwdriver here to tighten this up, to get a little more of a pull on the bobbin. We want a medium to kind of medium heavy. If you think about a household machine, you'd be quite a bit lighter than this. So you want a pretty medium pull on this. Once we kind of feel good about that, that's all we got to do on the bottom. We want to get this bobbin case back in, and we're going to focus on the top thread for all of our adjustments as far as the tensions go. So we'll get this back in. It just pops all the way back in. Make sure when you push it in that this latch closes all the way, and that way you know your bobbin case is all the way in, and you'll get a feel for it underneath. Not when you first get it, just tilt the head back and get used to it first, and you're good. Set this down. Now the best way to show you the thread is really just to pull it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift that pressure foot up, and it releases your tension here, and we're going to pull the top thread out. So we're going to start with our top thread up here on the very top, and what I like to do is run a little S shape through here like this, and what that does is it helps take some of the body that you find in the thread. As it comes off the spool, it has a little memory, so we're going to take that memory out by just going a little S, and then the next one here we'll do the same thing. We're going to go through here and make a little S shape through that tension through the guide here. This is a little pre-tensioner. Doesn't add a whole lot. Just again, it just kind of helps straighten the thread out, keeps it more stable. And now we're going to go into our tension. I like to just hold my top thread right here on the top, and that way I know that it's getting in all the way into my tension disc with my tension disc closed. Once you get it in tension, just bring it back behind the check spring and then underneath the retainer. As we go through there, there's a couple guides that we want to hit. This one on the way up, we're going to go through our take up from right to left and back through another guide here that just clicks in, one here that will click in, and I've got one we got a thread, which is your needle bar thread guide. And we'll just shoot it right through that. Okay. And we want to thread our needle from left to right. There we go. Now, grab a piece of fabric and we'll be ready to start sewing. Now that we successfully threaded the top and the bottom, let's go ahead and put a piece of fabric under. What I like to do a lot of times when we first put a bobbin is, you can go ahead and take a stitch and you can pull the bobbin thread on up like that. You see it come on up. Also I like to hold my top thread either to the side or to the front like this, hold it down, or what you can do is you can stick your thread underneath the presser foot and get it back in between your presser foot and let your presser foot hold it temporarily and make a few stitches and you're good to go. Got some excess thread back here, let's cut that loose. So now we're going to take a look or see if we got our tensions right. What we want to see here is we don't want to see the knot popping up through here. We want to see basically an equal stitch on the top and bottom. And that looks fairly well. If I had to say anything maybe a little bit tighter to bring the knot up. Let's run it a little more and see how she looks. A little more tension. I think we got it now. So we're going to jump over some seams now, and you see the machine just rides over pretty evenly. We go from 2 layers of canvas material to jump over 6 layers, and we got that loose thread that keeps following me around. And we'll just keep on running across this a few times. Get the hang of it. It's a scrap piece of material. Just throw a piece of foam over the top of it. So now we're going over 6 layers over a piece of foam, another piece on top of it. And let's just fold this on over, sew on the foam, see how it works over the foam effortlessly. Now we're getting a little bit of heat coming off of the needle, which is natural when you're starting to go through the thick material, but we're just getting started. Many layers here with seams, all kinds of stuff. Well, let's just see what we can do here. And finally, let's see if we get that last piece on the top to show. Boy, that's getting pretty thick right there. It's getting hard to bend it. So now we're going through all of this, and we'll come back to a nice piece of leather here, and be a 1-ply. So that kind of gives you some idea of what you can do as far as the stitch capacity of this machine is relatively thick here. Now we got a couple pieces of nice leather here, and we're going to be sewing along using our reverse. It's easy to make a back tack. You get to the end of something, you want to put a little tack in the end of it. Very easy. Even if you've got a seam to crawl over here and you need to back tack over it, we can just continue to back tack over our seam. Let's do that again. Just back tack over that seam a couple times. And we'll continue down. Throw us another seam in here. And we'll back tack over that. This is a very nice machine. Let's discuss the features that the Consew Premier P1206RB has. It's got a reverse here that's easy accessible. You have a stitch regulator to change your stitch length. It has a locking device so that whenever you're running at higher speeds, it doesn't change automatically. It's a side load bobbin, so we can reach underneath and change our bobbins really easily without having to remove the material. We can reach in, grab our bobbins, pull it out, and change it very easy. It's a large bobbin. If it's pre-wound, it's a size M, it's in Mary. The tension has a release feature in it, so whenever we lift our presser foot, the tension will release automatically. It has a semi-automatic oiling system. It's pretty much fully, with just a couple little drops up here on the top that are necessary, that are external, but everything else is self-oil. So underneath here, we would fill this up in between the two lines with oil, and we get the little dust out. Here we've got a little place to fill up with oil. It's got a pump right here. This pump oils all the way up to the top, and it actually creates a mist, and it oils the whole top of the machine, but it gathers right in this area here, and most machines don't have this particular device. This is a vacuum system that works off our bottom shaft. This little tube right here I'm pointing at actually goes all the way up through the machine, ends up over here at your needle bar, and it collects the oil and brings it back into the reservoir. We have metal gears, no plastic gears in the machine. They're metal that drive the machine. We have a little micro valve that's located here that allows us to vary the amount of oil that comes over to the hook assembly, and everything else is wick. So really it's a fully automatic. I can't really call it a fully because there's a couple little dots that you have to do, but you don't have to have much maintenance for this machine as far as the oiling system goes. The clearance under the foot is relatively high on this machine. This has got a 16mm clearance, or 5/8. I could get my whole finger underneath there, and that's really its sewing capacity. And we govern the machine at around 3,000 stitches. That's a high number to match. That really depends on your thread, and also the thickness of the material that you're sewing with can change that. Another unique feature about the machine is it's got a built-in bobbin winder on top. It automatically kicks off when it's full. When it gets full, it'll kick itself off automatically. So it's built in. It's a little more handy to be here, and it's got a little knife here that cuts your excess thread. And while we're looking at up top, here we have an adjustment that it will change your presser feet. Your presser feet can go from a higher step to a lower step. We call this a climbing device. And all we have to do is loosen that, raise it for a higher step. Now we preset the machine that it can sew through most any thin material, most every thick material. If you run into some issues with climbing over things, then you may want to have to just loosen this one nut raise it up a little bit, and then you've got a higher lift on your presser foot. Another nice feature is we've got already pre-drilled attachment holes. We can actually put attachment binders, folders on the machine. It's already preset for that.